Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Tuesday the 29th of January 2019. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @DS_Pepperstone. Okay, let's kick off with a look at the overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. A relatively quiet session on the global foreign exchanges yesterday, it must be said. Still one or two points to draw your attention to, however. Continuing strength from the New Zealand dollar being foremost amongst those. The Kiwi adding another 0.39% against the US dollar yesterday, trading at 68.54.80 shortly before we recorded the video. There were gains as well for both the Canadian dollar and the Mexican peso, each of those taking 0.11% off of the US currency yesterday. And the Brazilian real pushed back as well against the dollar, nicking, I suppose it's fair to say, 0.21% off of the US currency. Of course, the US dollar had been making gains against the real over the preceding week. Dollar index for its part trading at 95.68, modestly down on the session, and still really looking for a further directional cue. I keep saying that, but it is looking for an influence. Perhaps we'll see that with the Fed meeting later this week. Okay, what's on the calendar then? Events that may move markets today. A pretty light calendar as far as high impact data is concerned, but we do have plenty to get our teeth into nonetheless. We've already had Australian business confidence data from NAB for the month of December. We'll look at that in a bit more detail later. To come at 7 a.m. we'll have some trade balance and export data out of Switzerland. At 7:45 it's consumer confidence for January out of France, and that's followed at 8 o'clock by unemployment data from Spain for Q4 2018. Then we hop across to Italy for producer price index data for December. That's at 9 a.m. GMT. Then we pause until 13:55, crossing over the Atlantic for Red Book Index data out of the States for the week of January the 25th. 5 minutes later at 1400, it's the turn of the S&P Case-Shiller Home Price Indices for November out of the USA. And then pause again till 1500, when we shall have consumer confidence data in January out of the States. At 4:30 we'll have a 52-week bill auction, and then at 1800 GMT a 7-year note auction in the USA. And then the key item on the agenda really today, one that will probably dominate the media, the UK parliamentary vote on Brexit Plan B. These votes have taken place around 7 p.m. In the House of Commons. Of course, they can vary slightly depending on the length of the debate, and Parliament will be discussing new proposals on Brexit throughout the day and voting this evening. Then at 21:30 we shall have the US API weekly crude oil stocks for the week of January 25th. And to round the day off at 23:50, retail sales data out of Japan for December. Okay then, breaking news and comment that's caught my eye overnight. First of all then, the US has filed charges against the Chinese telecoms group Huawei. The charges include theft, fraud and sanctions busting, but it's a long and lengthy indictment. US machinery maker Caterpillar warned on profits, and in particular its trade with China, sending US equities lower in yesterday's session. And this was one of a number of disappointing US earnings calls yesterday. Prior to that, Q4 earnings season was going pretty well, so a slight change in direction there, at least as far as yesterday was concerned. And Australian business confidence remains under pressure. The NAB survey for December came in at a level of 3, unchanged since November, and its weakest level since January 2016. Bear in mind that the long-term average for this indicator is a level of 6. Okay, food for thought then, something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. And why not think about this? Urbanisation is increasingly being linked to economic growth in both the developed and developing world. But as major cities become even larger, how can they cope with the challenges of multi-million population headcounts? And will there in fact now start to be some diminishing returns as they perhaps grow too large? The table on the right hand side, sourced from the worldatlas.com, just gives us a flavour of how big some of these cities are getting. These are the top 15, but there are plenty more with huge populations. Obviously Tokyo at the top here with 38 million, but Delhi with 25, Sao Paulo here at 21 million, Mexico City, which always used to be one of the largest, just testing 21 million population. Many of these cities, of course, now getting larger than some individual countries. It's a fascinating story. I'm sure it's one that we'll return to in the future. Right, please take the moment to read this risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks or the suitability of leverage products for you, then please do contact your Pepperstone account representative, who'll be happy to take you through those. And as I say, do take the time to read this risk warning thoroughly. Thank you for your time today.